All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to welcome everyone to the Women Veterans Alliance. This is our unconference speaker webinar series, and I just wanted to share a little bit about our organization. My name is Melissa Washington. I'm the CEO and founder of Women Veterans Alliance, and I am thankful that you're all here. And for those of you that know or may not know, we unfortunately had to postpone our unconference that was to take place October in Las Vegas. So we didn't want to not have these fantastic speakers that we had lined up, not to be able to share their information, connect with you. So this is our first one. We're going to run through every Wednesday this month and every Wednesday next month. And that will, you can find the information. Zoe, if you could just advance the next slide there real quick. If you're not connected with us, please feel free to connect with us on the different social media channels. We share information daily, and feel free to go ahead and do that. And also too, on this call, if you could just go to the next slide real quick, we are offering a giveaway today of 10% discount at our store, but you need to use the discount code by August 31st. So please do so. And that's just a thank you for participating today in our unconference speaker webinar series. So without further ado, and we can go to the next slide, Zoe. Real quick, this is our what's up next. So Jill will be on why you aren't taking action. And the following one, if any of you are a business owner and you want to take advantage of the different tax advantages of the Stimulus CARES Act, we'll have that coming up as well. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. You can just go to the same place where you registered, our webinars page on our website, and you could register for those. And then we'll be announcing September's very shortly. All right, Zoe. So I want to introduce you. I'm going to read your bio first, and then you can take it from there. So with that, Zoe Dunning of San Francisco has been appointed to the California Veterans Board. Dunning has been a change management consultant with a variety of consulting firms since 2005. From 1999 to 2004, she served in operation leadership roles at Webvan and Chestnut Company. Prior to that, Dunning was a manager at the consulting firms Deloitte Consulting and A.T. Kearney from 1993 to 1998. A retired commander in the United States Navy Supply Corps, she served on active duty from 1985 to 1981 and in the reserves from 1991 to 2007. And I must say, go Navy before I continue. So Dunning is a commissioner on the United States World War I Centennial Commission on the San Francisco Library Commission, and also serves an advisory board member for the nonprofits Vets in Tech, fantastic organization. She earned a Master's of Business Administration degree in Strategy and Operations from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, and a Bachelor of Science degree from the United States Naval Academy. Zoe, I want to thank you so much for taking the time here to share how women can get on boards and committees, and for you sharing your own experience and being able to help others to hopefully do that too. Hopefully, and I know you're going to inspire these women to want to do that. So thank you, and it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Melissa, so much for that introduction. Really appreciate it. And thank you for all that you've done with the Women's Veterans Alliance. I think it's incredible that you've created this organization that can help women veterans get together, get access to resources, get educated, and continue serving in a variety of ways after we've left the uniformed service. So thank you for organizing this. Thank you to the organization. And I'm really grateful to be here and share what I know and learn from you all as well. Those of you who are spending your lunch hour, if you're here on the West Coast or anywhere else, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll have a great conversation. So my intent is to spend about 30 minutes or so sharing with you my experience, my tips and tricks, my recommendations for those of you who might want to pursue a board or commission appointment. And then we're going to have an opportunity for a question and answer at the end, because right now I'm just kind of guessing at what you might want to know, and I'm going to present some stuff, but really I want this to be interactive, and I want to have an opportunity to get your questions and see how I can be of assistance and help you with whatever it is that you're looking to do in terms of board and commission appointments. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself. So here's a few photos. In the upper right-hand corner, that's me as just a dweeby 19-year-old midshipman at the Naval Academy. Like many of you, I entered the service when I was fairly young and not really exactly sure what I was getting myself into. But I served for 6 years on active duty and then transitioned into the reserves. And then while I was in the reserves, President Clinton took office, and I actually came out publicly as lesbian and a member of the U.S. Naval Reserve, and went through 2 discharge hearings as a result. That lower right-hand corner picture is me coming out of my hearing at Treasure Island after I won my case and was allowed to continue serving. So as you can imagine, that kind of gave me some notoriety. I took that and leveraged it into working with an organization called Service Members Legal Defense Network. So one of my very first volunteer activities, community activism, had to do with a group that provided legal services to those who are impacted by Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And I served as the board co-chair of that organization for much of the next 18 years. And as a result of that, when the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal bill was signed into law in 2010, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary, I had the opportunity and the benefit to actually stand next to President Obama when he signed the legislation. And as a result of that, 9 months later, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. And again, this was sort of my passion and my activism that got me involved in kind of public service types of things. So as a result of that experience, trying to advance to the next slide, I've had a lot of opportunities to serve in a variety of capacities. And so this slide kind of summarizes some of the different organizations that I've had leadership roles in over the last 20 years. And just to orient you to this slide, the top row is kind of volunteer activities, organizations that have stepped up and said, I want to volunteer and work for you. The middle ones are political, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of being active in politics, how that may or may not be of assistance when you're looking for a board or commission appointment. And then the bottom row are those appointments that I've received. And they kind of go somewhat sequentially left to right in terms of time frame. So as I mentioned, my first bit of service was with SLDN, Service Members Legal Defense Network, because I was passionate about making sure the military was open to gay and lesbian service. So I served on the board of directors there. I then worked with another gentleman to found USNA Out, which was the organization that was for LGBTQ alumni of the US Naval Academy. I then also became a senior advisor to the Truman National Security Project. And as a result of that, I then also got involved with Service Academies nominations and selections. So one of the things I'll recommend to anyone who's listening who might be a Service Academy grad, your local congressperson and your senators and others are looking for volunteers to serve on Service Academy nomination committees so that they can determine who they're going to give their appointment to. So I've served on Senator Boxer's, Congresswoman Speaker Pelosi's, as well as Senator Feinstein's Service Academy selection committees. And then as Melissa mentioned, I've been working with Vets in Tech, which helps veterans transition into the tech sector. And now more recently, I've gotten involved with Wall of Vets. When I did that, I then got involved in politics in the local area here. So I became the chair of the Alice B. Toklas Democratic Club, which was one of the largest Democratic clubs in San Francisco. I joined the board of the Victory Fund, which does fundraising for LGBTQ candidates for office across the country. I actually ran for election. I ran for the Democratic County Central Committee in San Francisco and won a seat on that, and that's the governing body for the Democratic Party here in San Francisco. As a result of that, at the state level for the California Democratic Party, I was a delegate, and I went ahead and ran for and got seats on the LGBT caucus as well as the Veterans Caucus for the state party. What that did is that raised my profile, got me involved, got me exposure to a number of politicians and people who make appointments, demonstrated my involvement and my commitment to, the women's community, the veterans community, the LGBTQ community. And I did end up being recommended for an appointment to the mayor's office in San Francisco. And at first I thought it might be at the Veterans Commission or some others, but they approached me about the Library Commission. And as I'll mention in a moment, when they offer you an appointment, you can't be incredibly picky. You should just be grateful to serve and take it if it's still something that you want to pursue and do. The Library Commission, it wasn't that I was necessarily the world's greatest advocate for the libraries, but that was the opportunity that was given to me. And I saw them as an opportunity to create sort of community centers throughout the city of San Francisco. I believed in their mission, and I gratefully accepted the appointment 6 years ago. I did actually recently move from San Francisco to Oakland this year, and as a result had to resign my appointment to the Library Commission, but it was an amazing 6-year experience, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And then received a call from Speaker Pelosi about 3 years ago to serve on the World War I Centennial Commission. Great opportunity, serving with some amazing folks. And then more recently, about a year and a half ago, I got a call asking that Governor Newsom wanted to appoint me to the California Veterans Board. Now, this is a lot, and I think many of you might be intimidated and be like, oh, well, you know, you only got all of this because you're famous. Not true, you know, or because you got some publicity. Not true at all. And what I'm going to talk you through is how you can actually get in there and get your foot in the door. And some of you may actually already serve on boards and commissions. I don't want to assume that none of you have done this yet. So we're going to talk through some of the tips and tricks and then take the questions. So this is one of my favorite quotes. If you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Or another quote that I've often heard too is, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. So it's very important that we participate in our community, we participate in our political process, we participate in policymaking so that it is representative of all of us and that it has our voice. So as you look at different boards and commissions that you might want to be a part of, really get a sense of what their role is. Some boards and commissions have more power than others. They oftentimes have an advisory role, which is great, but it doesn't mean you have a whole lot of teeth. You're just in an advisory capacity. Some of them actually govern. The Library Commission oversaw the budget. We hired the chief librarian. We had some other great decision-making authority. On the California Veterans Board, we don't have a tremendous amount of authority to enact things, but one thing we do here is appeals in the state of California. So if you are a veteran and say you applied to get tuition waiver for your child, which is a program that the CalVet offers for California state schools, and you were denied, you have the right to appeal that denial, and it comes to the California Veterans Board to hear. So some boards and commissions have the opportunity to review cases, to review appeals, and to make decisions on that. And then there are some boards that actually roll up their sleeves and do the work, right? So there's some that where if you're on the board, you're actually volunteering, going and doing some of the work itself. So just understand what the role of that board or commission is and how much power they have. The other thing about boards and commissions is they typically try to be representative of the community that they serve. So they want to have a very diverse profile of the folks that are on their board, or are on their commission. Particularly, I know in the Bay Area, it's very important on the commissions that it be representative of all communities. And so you'll see sometimes that, there'll be, and we'll get to this in a moment, there'll be some seats that are kind of set aside for particular demographics or particular experiences or skill sets. And they are sometimes used as political currency. I hate to say it, but it is true that some of these boards and commissions, these appointments are, considered very valuable, and a politician who's making that appointment may take into account, whether that is currying favor to a particular community or organization. I will say that one of the influences for me to be considered for the Library Commission appointment was that I was, at that point, the co-chair of the largest Democratic club in San Francisco. And so in some ways, if the mayor and the club had done campaign work for him. So the mayor in some ways was kind of paying back to the Democratic club by giving a member of the leadership of the Democratic club a seat on a commission. That is unfortunately kind of how it works. So as we'll talk about in a moment, participating in political campaigns is one way to raise your visibility, particularly to those who are the decision makers that make some of these appointments. And the other point that I'll make is that this really is a tremendous opportunity for women veterans. If you look at the campaigns that are going on across the country right now, Amy McGrath in Kentucky, there are other women veterans that are getting very high profile in terms of political office, in terms of boards and commissions. We've got Tammy Duckworth in Illinois, Senator Duckworth, in terms of her profile. And it's really a very compelling profile, a woman veteran. And people are getting more and more interested in that. And so I think if you are a woman veteran, you are in a very, very strong position to be considered for a board or commission appointment, no matter what the role of that board or commission is. So how do you decide which board or commission is right for you? There's a couple of things that you want to ask yourself. Are you passionate about the issue or community or topic? These are volunteer opportunities. They're largely unpaid. I do get, for the California Veterans Board, $100 a day per diem, but that's pretty much it. So it's really a lot of time. It's a lot of commitment. And so you want to make sure that you're passionate about whatever that topic or issue is that board or commission oversees. Can you bring a unique perspective to it? Are there other women on the board? Are there other veterans on their board? If you are a person of color, are there people from your community there? If you are disabled, are there other people that can represent that? Is there a unique perspective that you can bring to that board or commission? Because they would be looking for that, and that would be very compelling. And make sure you understand what the time commitment is. Some boards or commissions meet for a couple hours every month. Others meet for several hours every week. Many boards and commissions have committees. And so you're not just attending the board meetings or the commission meetings themselves, but you might be also leading or attending subcommittee. For instance, for the California Veterans Board, I lead the Minority and Women Vets subcommittee. So just make sure that you understand what the time commitment is and that you have that available to actually meet the expectations of that role. And then finally, where does your passion lie? Is it at the local, state, or national level? I've had the privilege and opportunity to be serving at all three, at the local level on the San Francisco Library Commission, at the state level on the California Veterans Board, and at the national level on the World War I Centennial Commission. They have different levels of exposure, different travel requirements, different scopes. So just think about, where you want to direct your energy and time. And then once you find a board or commission that you're interested in, do your research. Most of them have online the minutes of prior meetings. You can take a look at that and they'll give you a really good sense of what are the discussion topics, what are the decisions that are made, what are the things that they're grappling with, what are their priorities. So you can go back and get that and really be informed on what that commission's about, what that board is about, and what their mission is. Read the bios of current board members to get a sense of the profiles of the types of folks that they're looking for and have typically served in that role. And then attend the meetings, especially now that they're virtual. It's really easy for you to sit in and listen to one of these meetings and watch for, how formal is it? Do the people seem to like each other? Are they working well together? Is it antagonistic? Is it proactive? And get a sense of, are these people that you really want to work with? Is this a group that I want to be a part of? Is this a commission or a board that I feel I can fit into and participate in actively? So really the best thing you can do is attend those meetings. Because really, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. That's the most important part to get an appointment for a board or commission. It is making yourself visible, showing up, making sure that people know that this is of interest to you, having them understand what skill set, what unique perspective you can bring. And so how do you go about doing that? Well, here's a couple tips and tricks and thoughts that I have from my experience and what I've seen elsewhere. First thing you really need to understand is who makes the appointment and who approves the appointment. So for instance, Governor Newsom makes the appointments for the California Veterans Board. But who approves it is I actually have to go through the Senate Rules Committee in order to have my appointment approved. Similarly, for the San Francisco Library Commission, the mayor appointed me, but it was the Board of Supervisors who had to approve the appointment. So make sure you get an understanding of that process. Much of that is available online. You can also probably call a number and ask for that information. The other thing is it's not the mayor himself or it's not the governor himself who's sifting through the resumes and making these appointments. They almost always have an appointment secretary. So try to find out who is actually managing the appointments for that person. Some appointments actually aren't even made by individuals, they're made by a body. So many of the San Francisco commissions, for example, some of them are mayoral appointments, some of them are made by the Board of Supervisors. Some of them have a split where some of the seats are from the mayor, some of the seats are from the board of supervisors. So just understand who makes the appointments and what the best route is for you to pursue an appointment, and understand who influences those recommendations to that particular individual. An appointment secretary, a chief of staff, whoever it might be. Again, not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Make yourself known to them. Understand what the qualification criteria are for that board or commission. And again, much of this is online, but many of them will have specific seats that are designated. So for instance, in the California Veterans Board, there's one seat for a member who is living in one of the California vet homes in California. For the San Francisco Muni Transportation Board, one seat is designated for someone who is disabled. Many of these boards, if you go look at them, they'll have specific criteria. Some will be kind of more open seats, but some will be very specific in terms of it has to be a union rep, or it has to be a member of the community, or it has to be someone who's got a degree in something specifically. So understand what those criteria are and what those specific seats are. Additionally, sometimes it's not explicit where it's like, the seat is for this type of person, the seat's for that type of person, but just by practice, it sometimes is. So like if there is a board and it has a very diverse mix demographically, and let's say there's two African-American members and both of them leave or resign, in some ways, whoever's making that appointment will probably want to replace them with another African-American person. Not in all instances, but they don't want to disrupt the profile of the board too much if they have a diversity that they really like. So just know and understand that sometimes those seats are informally designated for a particular profile of a board or commission member. The other way to make yourself known is to attend the meetings, like I said before, but almost all of these meetings have an opportunity for public comment. And don't feel free to step up and actually speak up during public comment, again, so that you can be known. And if the more insightful your questions or comments can be, the more you're going to stand out from the crowd. And if you keep showing up at the meetings and you keep talking at public comment, the board and commission are going to notice. They're going to be like, hey, that person's pretty sharp. They seem very interested in what we're doing here. And when there's an opening on that board or commission, you'll already be a known quantity when you make your application known. Also, sometimes when you're in person in particular, this is easier. You can talk to members after the meeting. Virtually in these days of COVID, it's a little bit more difficult. So I also encourage you to request informational interviews of current and former members of the board or commission. A lot of times their contact information is available online. If not, you can go through the secretary or executive director or whoever of that board and make the request known that you would like to do an informational interview. Most board and commission members will be open to that idea, and you can go in and just talk to them about what their experience is like, how they got their appointment, what they're looking for in a fellow board or commission member. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask that. There's no harm in asking. They can say no, but they can also very much say yes. As I mentioned before, a lot of times these are political appointments. If you want to make yourself known, consider volunteering for campaigns. If you want an appointment from your member of the board of supervisors and they're running for re-election in the next year, see if you can do some volunteer work and make yourself visible to that particular politician, because that does influence the appointments. And have your resume updated and available, because you might have a conversation and be like, hey, shoot us your resume. Make sure you have a resume that demonstrates your commitment, passion, and experience in that particular area that you want to work on. So I just want to really encourage you that you can do this. Again, it sounds very overwhelming perhaps, but there are, like in San Francisco alone, I think there's over 60 different commissions. Many cities have commissions and boards. They're always looking for good qualified volunteers that want to participate. It's actually not as difficult as you might imagine. So it's an amazing opportunity to give back and empower the communities that you represent. I've got this interesting triad of like, I'm a woman and I'm a veteran and I'm a lesbian. And so I oftentimes have lesbian organizations that are like, oh, she's also a woman and she's a vet. That's awesome. Or I'll have a women's organization that like, oh, she's lesbian and she's a vet. That's awesome. Or I'll have a vet organization that's like, oh, she's a woman and she's lesbian. So the more dimensions that you have to you that bring a unique perspective, you'll find more opportunities to represent your community and participate in some of these boards and commissions. And I wouldn't be too picky when people offer you, like, let's say you want, board A or commission A, there aren't any openings right now, but you've made yourself known to the appointment secretary that you're interested in serving, and they say, well, we don't have an opening there, but we do have an opening on this other commission. Generally, my guidance would be, as long as you can still drum up some passion and excitement for what that is that they're offering you, I would say go ahead and accept it. Because what we find is that once you're in that pool of people who are on boards and commissions, you become known, and it sort of begets another. Just as I experienced with the Library Commission begetting World War I Centennial Commission, begetting the California Veterans Board. Once you're a known entity and you're seen in there and you're seen as a very effective board or commission member, you will sort of elevate to the next level and perhaps get that board or commission appointment that you're looking for. So I wouldn't be too snooty about which board or commission appointment you might get. Just get your toes in the water and continue to serve, even if it's not your first choice. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm happy to give more specific details about either my experience or my recommendations. I'd like to hear from you folks in terms of what boards or commissions you're interested in, and how I can advise you or help you with that specifically. So with that, I'm going to, I guess, Melissa, I don't know if you're monitoring the chat or you want me to, or how we should work this.
Yeah, we have a couple questions. Should the resume focus only on the volunteer work or all experience? Would it be 2 or 3 pages?
In general, I don't recommend a resume longer than 2 pages. It can be comprehensive, but it should emphasize your relevant experience that is relevant to that particular board or commission. So, if it has to do with veterans, emphasize, your veteran experience and status, emphasize other community work and volunteer work that you've done. But yeah, I would keep it to 2 pages and really highlight those areas that you think is the most relevant. When I do resumes, I do tailored resumes for each thing that I'm applying for, because I want to emphasize different things for different audiences.
And another question is there a best time of year to start looking for what's available?
That's a great question. I would say no. These board appointments and commissions tend to, be going on every single month. Now, when a new leader is elected, a new mayor comes in, a new supervisor, a new governor, oftentimes they will reevaluate the appointments to all of these different things. So when there is a new sheriff in town, so to speak, there might be a heavier rotation and a heavier set of openings that are available to you. So look for those opportunities. But I would say, start now. Don't wait for a particular season. If there's an opening that you're interested in now, go for it.
Another question is, how do you access the different commissioner meetings? Do you have to have permission?
No, you generally do not. Almost all that, as long as it's like a public board or commission, those meetings should all be open to the public. The only time they go into closed session typically is if they're, let's say, listening to a specific appeal or something that has to do with a personnel issue. So for instance, the police commission in San Francisco will oftentimes have hearings to look into police misconduct, or a police officer might be appealing some conduct action that was taken against them. Those types of sessions typically go into closed session, but every meeting should be open to the public. So you don't have to have an invitation. You generally can look online and see when the details are, when they are. If it's not readily available, feel free to call their information line or shoot them an email to find out the details. But they should all be open to the public, via Brown Act or various other transparency legislation that's been passed.
So I have a question. So, when we talk about boards and commissions, so is it very similar for like someone doing the PTA or other, more of your local community organizations? Is it the same type of process? Is that a good starting point for someone who may not have any other experience? I mean, And also too, with that is, if nobody has no experience and they haven't had any visibility, where should they start?
Absolutely wonderful question. You know, again, this is applicable, other than the appointment part of it, which is much more political. As I said, my journey started with volunteering for an organization that had a mission that I was passionate about. And it was a nonprofit, and I volunteered. I eventually stepped up into a leadership role on their board of directors. But absolutely, like, you know, find an organization that you're interested in, volunteer for it, make yourself known, and then they're always looking for strong board members to help with sort of the governance, and that'll start your board experience and your opportunity to be like in a governance role, in a governance position. So start with your PTA, start with your local community organization, whatever it might be, your at your local library, whatever it might be. Start with the volunteering, inquire about leadership opportunities, see what the governing structure is, the board, and get some visibility that way.
Great. Anybody else have any additional questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. Zoe, what's a great way to connect with you?
Great. I can put it in the chat. I can actually, so this is my email. Feel free to shoot me a line. I'm happy to chat with you and find out the specifics of your particular situation and see, you know, how I can help in terms of opening doors or making recommendations to who you might want to speak to about that. I don't know if everyone's here from California or, you know, where people are calling in from, but it sort of depends on what your locality is.
Yeah, they're from all over, but I would assume this is the same process in any state, right? I mean, as far as
right. If you like, I was going to put on a slide with like resources, but it differs by state. Like if you just Google board and commission appointments and whatever, you know, for this city or for that state, you should get something that pops up that tells you what it is. And again, there is typically a formal way to indicate your interest by filling out a form online, but that is rarely enough. You need to figure out and meet who the people are in terms of the decision maker. I highly discourage you guys just filling out an application and sending it off and hoping that it sticks. You're going to need to do a little bit more legwork and research to figure out who the decision makers are, whether there's openings on that board or commission. Talk to current board and commission members and make yourself known, because that'll help color your application in terms of getting a sense of you as a whole person, and give your chances much stronger opportunity.
Let's see. Okay, so Lou had a question, but it might be more, I don't know if Lou, you wanted to follow up directly with Zoe about how the Cal Board can help her with her retirement follow-up. So maybe you both can connect on that.
Yes, I'll send her an email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And we have a question from Amy, and I know Amy's in Georgia, so she might be one of the furthest ones. And she asked, maybe ask people in the group about their experiences, how they got accepted to a board, how did they do it? So that's a great question. I mean, if anybody has good experience, bad experience, suggestions on what to do, where not to go.
Yeah, I would love to hear other people's experience in terms of whether you've been on boards or commissions or how that worked for you or what you're interested in pursuing.
Yeah, and that's, and this is a great networking opportunity because you never know who might be on the call that might know somebody. So speak now.
I could talk a little bit because Melissa, I'm a troublemaker, right?
All the time, yes.
All the time.
Good trouble, right? As John Lewis would say, good trouble.
Good trouble. Well, because one of the things I'm thinking about, there's formal boards and there's informal boards. And one of the big things among this group of individuals is that we're all women veterans, and most of the time we're invisible, right? And that's how come we want to get more visible by being on these boards and commissions. And my experience in the state of Georgia is showing up. you know, most public meetings are just that. They're public meetings. And after a while, they kind of know that you're there, you know, and they say, oh, Dr. Stevens, you're here. You know, do you have anything to add? Right. And quite frankly, I'm, you know, nonprofits like me to work hard all the time. But, you know, some of the public meetings, you know, where the commissioner is there and other, you know, people like that from the VA, it's just because I keep on showing up. And that's really the trick to it, is that they don't, why would they hire you, right? They don't know you. And a resume is a resume, and everybody can make one up. But if they actually see you and how you handle yourself and all of that, eventually you can get your foot in the door. And I've been able to have some impact in my state because of that.
I would agree. In fact, the latest addition to the San Francisco Library Commission was a gentleman who showed up at like 5 or 6 meetings in a row, and during public comment, he would come and he would say something and it would be insightful. And, you know, he stood out and we noticed. And when there was an opening on the commission, he applied and he got it.
And Zoe, you brought up a great point too, with mostly everything now is virtual. So, I mean, what a great opportunity for us to be able to sit in on a board or commission meeting from the comforts of our own home, and start to learn more about that.
So I actually have a question for you, Melissa, if I may.
Go ahead.
I applied for the open secretary position, and there were 3 questions, and the answers had to be 2 or 3 sentences. And then I received an email back saying that my application had been received and that packets would be going out soon. And I was left with the question, did I say enough? Did I provide enough? How is the voting going to be done with such limited information? Or, you know, is there another step to the process that I'm missing?
And I didn't see your application, so I don't know, but I feel too is we always should over communicate, add more than what they ask for. Just my thing, just in general, because it's always good to have a little bit of extra information or add, but if they only say it's only 1 page and only submit that. But I feel as women we could do a better job on bragging on ourselves. So make sure you know, I don't know if the right word is bragging, but we definitely need to show what we can do and what we have done.
It's a great point, Melissa. There have been studies, and I'm going to misquote them, but it's kind of like if there's a job description and there's 10 things that they're looking for, a guy will look at it and say, I've got 6 of them, and he'll apply. And a woman will look at it and say, I've only got 9 out of the 10, forget it, I'm not going to apply. So, you know, even if you don't think it's a perfect fit or you don't meet all the qualifications, go for it. You never know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Valerie, she typed in, hi, Valerie. She's been on boards of the Military Writers Society of America, the Southwest Veterans Business Resource Center, and the Maryland Horse Council Political Action Committee. All volunteer, hard work. She agrees with Amy that all these happened because I had been an active member. So very interesting. So I assume you like horses. That's why you're on the horse. Okay. Veterans, of course, because you're a veteran, and I assume you're a writer because you're on the Military Writers Society. So share with us a little bit about those organizations. The Military Writers Society of America sounds very intriguing.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was just typing because I thought we were still in the typing mode.
Nope.
But the Military Writers Society of America is a group. It's a nonprofit, and we just try to encourage veterans to write their stories. It's both veterans, military families, and those who like to write about the military. So it's anyone can join. It's a small fee. We have awards. We have writing workshops. So I'd encourage anybody to. I can put in the link of how to find it. And so that's one. And again, I was just very active with the group, and I was on the board, and then I stopped being on the board because my business was just taking too much time. So I really have to emphasize what Zoe said too about about all these boards that I was on took an incredible amount of time, and I was trying to do that plus work. And so I think everybody who is interested in doing this just needs to find a right balance, because you don't want to shortchange a board or a commission. And um, but you know, if you have an active business, you need to support that as well. So, and the Southwest Veterans Business Resource Center is because I am a small business owner, and I don't live in the Southwest, but I ended up knowing a person who runs that, and became very involved. And I am pretty passionate about trying to help other people survive in their businesses, or if I can pass any words or that have helped me in mine, very much like your mission, Melissa. So, and then the Maryland Horse Council, yeah, that's local here in Maryland, and a political action committee. I was just asked if I would do that because they needed to fill a slot. I'd been an officer on the board for the 4 years prior to that, and I did that. So and it was interesting. You know, I'd never been on a PAC before, and again learned a lot. So.
Thanks, Valerie.
One
Well,
of the things
if I ever write my story, I'll reach out to you.
Please do. Yeah. Or I mean, we have, there's a lot of resources too when I put the page out there that you may want to take. And it's, I will say that I'm also on the outreach committee, but it's something that we don't do a very good job of. A lot of people are not aware that the Military Writers Society of America is out there, but it's 100% volunteer, and that's what happens sometimes.
Oh, and Lou's writing a book, Operation About Face. You got her email address in there. Again, it's a great place to network. And now, are you finished with the book? Or are you collecting stories?
I am in the early stages. I have spoken with several congressmen and women who are all veterans through the DNC. And right now with the election coming up, there's not a lot moving forward. So until after the election, but at least I'm getting the wheels greased right now. In the interim, I'm also on the Women Veterans Leadership Program. And so I have where we share our stories, and I've collected stories from that group that are women who are willing to share their story, as well as I've been in touch with the president of WMSA, the Women's Memorial Monument in DC. I spoke with her when I was there in March, and then this happened. So it's on the burners, but it's just not on the front burner right at the time. But I'm still moving forward on my end. Like you said, from comfort of my own home, I can still get everything pulled together. So if anybody has a story that they want to share and wants to be involved in the book, I would really love to have it with pictures as well.
Very good.
And in any era. So if it was your mother, grandmother, aunt, it doesn't matter. I want to include as many eras as possible.
Very good. And for those want Lou's email, it's in the chat. And then Valerie also included in the chat the link to the Military Writers Society of America. One of the other things I was thinking about, because I've submitted for committees and boards, is reference letters. Is having those. So that's something, instead of scrambling, is to start getting those now, or having the people identified, or starting to write it and then give the content to the person who's going to refer you. So I think that's something else to think about too, is who do you want to write that letter of recommendation for you?
Absolutely. I'm curious if any of the other folks here, whether there's a particular board or commission you're looking to apply for that you want to give any advice on, or ask in general. Don't be shy.
And this is being recorded, so you can always come back to this. And then for those that are watching, not live, they can follow up too with the information that's in the chat.
Absolutely.
Zoe, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Liz. Thank you for sharing with us, what you do. It's really amazing. And there is one board that I've been kind of thinking about kicking around over the last year, and I'm not sure if I'm a fit for it, but it's the California Asian and Pacific Islander Commission Board.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're at API, if you're familiar with that, but I know they have like a diverse board. You know, there's an Islander on there, and then I think she stepped down, and so they might be looking to fill that. But it made me think about that, listening to what you were saying, that sometimes they want to keep that diversity on the board.
Right.
So anyway.
Go for it. Go
Go
for
for
it.
it.
You do volunteer work for them. They know you. Go for it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Is that a gubernatorial appointment?
Pardon?
Is that a gubernatorial appointment?
Gosh, I don't know. You know, I think it's one of those ones, I think the governor has to pick you or something. I'd be in his circle. Aren't they all like that, Zoe, or not?
At the state level, yes, they're often gubernatorial appointments approved by like Senate Rules Committee or whatever it might be, but there are individuals on his staff that manage those appointments. So it'd be a matter of getting yourself introduced to that person and indicating your interest. And again, attending the meetings and getting to know the folks.
Should I start babysitting for the governor, or?
No, I don't think it has to be
Got
quite
4 kids. Anyway, thank you.
All right.
Can
Well,
I share a funny story?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Navy, go Navy.
Go Navy.
I enlisted in 91. My retirement was supposed to be November of last year, and I got my paper saying you're eligible and all that. So I had extended for 1 more year, thinking I would be retiring. And I called last month, finally got through to somebody in Deers, and they said, no, you're not retiring until May of next year. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought I was retired already. So that's actually what I want to talk to you about, Zoe, offline. But the funny part about this is that this morning, I got a text from a Navy recruiter asking me if I was interested in joining the reserves.
Well, yeah, speaking of the military left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, I had 2 discharge hearings because when I came out, it was right before Clinton took office. So I had just an administrative discharge hearing under the policy prior to Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They voted unanimously to kick me out, but then he announced Don't Ask, Don't Tell within a month, and they had not actually finished processing me out. So they decided to have a second hearing under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is the hearing that I won and was allowed to stay in. Between those 2 discharge hearings, I received notification that I was selected for promotion to 04. So on the one hand, they were trying to kick me out, and then on the other hand, they selected me for promotion. So sometimes the military isn't exactly a well-oiled, coordinated machine.
So true. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and end this. And again, feel free to reach out to Zoe. Great conversation. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And don't forget, we'll be back here next Wednesday at noon and hope to see all of you then. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.